All right, welcome to my life. This is the Zach of All Trades podcast, and I'm Zach. This is Ryan and Logan, and we just got done watching the Republican debate, right? The third one. Fourth. See, this is how unplugged I am, okay? So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're just going to jump into some questions. So, Ryan, who are you?
Hi, my name is Ryan Coop. I formerly have worked at the state capitol. I was a clerk for 2 years. Now I'm with the Southeast Iowa Young Republicans here with Logan. I've ran for office twice before. Currently, I serve as the chairman of my township. I had an unsuccessful bid for school board this past November.
I did vote for you.
I'm glad to hear that. How many times? And yeah, we're just trying to boost civic engagement for younger folks is the main goal of the YR and why I joined. So,
Why are Young Republicans? Who is that compare? Okay, let's know who you are. So you're Logan.
Yeah, so like Ryan mentioned, I'm Logan. So I'm the chairman of the Southeast Iowa Young Republicans. So the Southeast Iowa Young Republicans cover 13 counties in Southeast Iowa. And so we just did a great event tonight for the fourth debate watch party here in Henry County. I took over the YRs as chairman 2 months ago, and we've been able to bolster our membership from 5 members to 20 just now, so we've actually quadrupled it. We've hosted a variety of different events. We actually got engaged in a couple of local elections, volunteering for Ryan's campaign, Matthew Rowe over in Fairfield as well. A little about myself. I'm a recent University of Iowa graduate. I work with Americans for Prosperity out of Ottumwa. And so just trying to get young folks involved, like Ryan mentioned. Tonight's event was a great opportunity just to build community and engage in kind of the political discussion that's going on right now.
So we got Southeast Iowa Republicans, Young Republicans, and Americans for Prosperity, right? What's the demographic you guys are shooting for?
You can take it.
So the Southeast Iowa Young Republicans demographic officially is 18 to 40. Any registered Republican between those ages. That's
Southeast Iowa.
That's the entire Young Republicans organization.
Okay.
National, state, and Southeast.
Is
Iowa.
Young Republicans, are any of these affiliated with each other?
They are, yes. So we are an affiliate of the Iowa Young Republicans, the National Federation of Young Republicans, and the Iowa GOP.
Okay. So you're saying all of these are 18 to 40. And you guys are, this is obviously Republican-based. Do you guys see a lot of new, young Republicans coming on this? I mean, I watched the whole Charlie Kirk and the Ben Shapiro type of stuff. Is it affiliated with that kind of stuff, or in the same part of the buffet?
Yeah, so a unique point actually. I used to work for Campus Victory Project, which was an organization started by Charlie Kirk out in Phoenix, Arizona. We worked on student government elections on major Division I college campuses across the country. And so the main difference I personally see after having worked with Turning Point USA and their affiliate, I think that the Young Republicans in Southeast Iowa is more so a community-based engagement from young folks, where they have the opportunity to not only build community with like-minded individuals, but also engage in local elections or different events in the community and have a true impact in the state that they love. So I would say the main difference between us and an organization like Turning Point USA is that we're much more grassroots. So it's definitely a great organization to be a part of.
So when you guys when you say grassroots, tonight we went to the coffee shop. You guys set up the whole display thing, and food was great. What is it? Are you guys doing those things from now until election, or?
Yeah, so since I've taken over the Southeast Iowa Young Republicans over the past 2 months, we've had 2 different debate watch parties, one in Ottumwa last month, one in Mount Pleasant, obviously tonight. We actually supported Ryan Coop's election. We had some volunteers out knocking doors for him, and Matthew Rowe over in Fairfield as well. Heading up into caucus, we're going to be doing some caucus trainings with local county parties. We're still working on a couple of those events, but our next one that's on the books will be January 8th with the Wapello County Republicans.
Okay. So let's do this. Are you guys ready to get into the debate?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a short-term memory.
Okay.
So I'm excited about this. So I wrote down some key points. And can I talk about myself?
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, you guys maybe, I'm going to get at least one new subscriber tonight, right?
Absolutely.
And hopefully I'll get some more subscribers from your guys' base. That's not what this is about, but I ran for office in 2008-ish for our city council up in a town of like 2,300 people. And afterwards, I told my wife if I ever run for public office, she has grounds to divorce me. That was so insane. And so I get into all of this, and it's my Americanism can get turned and turned off. So I'm going to turn it full bore tonight because a little shout out to my buddy. I'm a theocratic isolationist, meaning God is my king, and I don't really care about America in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
Leave me alone. I pay my taxes. Okay? Theocratic isolationist. But if I do have to flip through the pages of the Constitution, okay, let's play that game. So that's the Zach everybody's going to get tonight. That politician is usually in a closet.
Yeah.
And yes, I would lean towards anything right of blue.
Okay.
Okay? So I don't care who I'm ticking off right now. There's a lot of craziness on the left.
Yes.
And this is what happens when a country turns away from God. That's where I'm getting at. But I historically have not been voting. And that ticks off a lot of people. So hopefully we're going to maybe get some people to recruit another voter, because the only vote I've had in the last, I can't remember how many, my first vote was Bush, and then I stopped from there, and then I did vote for Trump in 20, whatever it was.
Okay.
So he ran twice, right?
Yep,
Yes.
2016, 2020.
I'm not sure I voted the first one. I think I voted for the second one.
Okay.
So, little history on how the Constitution works. Do we actually have a say in the presidential election?
We do not. So the founders, it's the one election in America that is not a direct majority of the people. Each state is issued a certain number of votes that they're entitled to, based in part on their population, +2. The number of seats they have in the House of Representatives, +2. So there's been a lot of debate over the years of whether we should keep or get rid of the Electoral College. Obviously, that'd take a 3/4 vote of all the states to remove that from our Constitution, and I don't see that happening anytime soon, particularly because it gives the smaller states a little bit of more say. But basically, how the process works in a state here like Iowa, we are entitled to 6 votes because we have 4 members of the House of Representatives +2. And whoever gets the majority of votes for president in the state of Iowa gets all 6 of those votes. They could say 1 million people vote and 500,001 people vote for Trump instead of Biden. All 6 of those go for Trump.
So when people are talking about, hey, defending the democracy and, oh, he lost the popular thing or she lost the popular thing, that's just a farce. We're voting for electors, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So as we have this discussion, we can all vote for our electors locally. So it's important for local elections, which I participate in. This whole presidential thing is just kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But, again, I'm playing the game. So let's go, first of all, opening statements with you guys, because I've got topics with each person.
Absolutely. Jesse,
What do you think? Overall, how did it go?
I think.
Who do you think won? Who stuck out? Who's the jerk? Who shouldn't even be up there?
Who shouldn't be up there is an easy one. That would be Chris Christie.
Amen.
He is not doing too well in anything. I don't think Logan can correct me. I don't believe he's been in Iowa at all.
Would he fit? Hey,
That's
I got really
that's
ticked
up to
off-
the Secret Service to
Yeah,
decide. But I think Nikki Haley did a fine job up there maintaining her composure under the attacks of both people. I think Vivek Ramaswamy has a lot to say. He was pretty loud about how he said it. But I think all the candidates have one similar goal in mind, that is obviously get Biden out of there in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of relaying what Ryan said, I think that Nikki probably had the most presidential performance tonight. I think that she was definitely poised underneath the scrutiny from Vivek and DeSantis. I might take a different approach as far as Christie. I think that he's a professional debater. I think he did a great job tonight, not only calling out Trump for not being there at the debate. I think it's important that in our democracy, if you're running for president, you owe it to the people that you're asking to vote for to show up and give them an opportunity to address your policy points. And I do think that Christie does a great job of calling out Trump for that. And then as far as defending Haley and kind of moving back into the point of getting back on track with the debate and trying to answer some of those questions on why we're actually here listening to these folks. So that's kind of my overall thought for tonight.
So I was going to go through the people who were there. Maybe let's start with Trump. Is him not being there a big deal? Let me ask you this: are you guys in a I guess I don't know what era. You know, King Henry VIII went crazy, right?
Could you maybe
That
tell us a
guy
little
was
more about
like
it?
that guy was like a man's man before he fell off a horse. Okay.
Okay.
He was like he was a pretty cool dude. I don't know, but from what I've read and heard, he kind of went nuts.
Okay.
So, was there a good Trump era and we're now in the bad Trump era, or is this just what was always there? Like, is Trump not being there? Because Chris Christie's top of my list.
Yeah.
When you talk about him not being there and him speaking the truth, that really resonated with me on this guy has 81% approval amongst Republicans. And is he a felon now? Will he be a felon? He doesn't even need to show up.
Yeah.
Is that a big
So-
deal to you guys?
That's absolutely a huge deal. There's two things that it takes to be president, right? You need to have good policies. Three things: have good policies, have good leadership skills, and be presidential. Trump has two of those. He's proven himself in business. He has incredible leadership skills. Personally, I do agree with most of his policies, even, but he is not presidential. He doesn't exactly know when to shut up sometimes, which is very important for a president, especially as the leader of the free world. And that really cost him, not only in the 2020 election, but even during his term in Congress. A lot of the stuff that he did was by executive order. And the reason I think we've seen things fall apart so quickly is because day one, the next president can go in and undo every single executive order. It needs to be a law. You need the support of Congress, and you need to be presidential to do that.
That has been the amount of executive orders, like starting from Bush, George W., with 9/11 and later, the amount of debt adding from each president of both party. I mean, so I've got under the Trump thing here, the debt. When you talk about, hey, he's succeeded in business, the bankruptcy filings, those are protections for his businesses. I hear a lot of good stories on how he treats people. I hear a lot of bad stories on you're either with me or you're against me. And if you're against me, buckle up.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the bankruptcies. I mean, that is something to be pointed out in any president's campaign. I do think, though, that he made a substantial recovery from those later in business. And I don't think you should judge somebody by their worst moment, but it's the fact that, I think you shouldn't judge someone by their worst moment. But, if you've proven yourself in business and have brought it up to a multi-billion-dollar industry, providing jobs to a ton of people and that kind of thing. It's pretty safe to say you're a good businessman, but it just comes down to, are you also presidential? Can you know when to shut up?
Yeah, and kind of relaying on the same point, I think that there's a lot of issues that Trump ran on, a lot of great policies that came through the Trump administration, but there's a lot of accountability checks that folks have. The educated voter understands that we have a border crisis issue right now. Trump ran on the issue that he was going to build the wall and he was going to fix our border security crisis. And I think I don't know if it's ever been more prevalent than it is today. And I think that there are some failed promises there. Mexico didn't pay for the wall with these executive orders that you mentioned. Biden got rid of those on day one. And so I think without having a solid leadership that's able to be held accountable at a debate like tonight, I think that there's a lot of issues that aren't being addressed.
Mm-hmm. That was what I'm going to go to the name pronunciation, because as soon as I say, is it Vivek, or Vivek? Because he seemed pretty sensitive about that. I want to say his name, but I don't want to sound like a moron.
So Logan has met him in person. Maybe he...
Yeah, so I actually had the opportunity to play tennis up with Vivek over in Des Moines a couple months ago. A really cool experience. He went to Harvard, very great tennis player. And it's Vivek is what I'm understanding. But yeah.
So not Vivek,
yeah,
and not Vivek.
I would go with the assumption of a Vivek, but I could be wrong. You never know.
Now, I mean, was he being... That's on my list, because, again, as silly and unimportant as it sounds, he seemed relatively sensitive about it, but we're a predominantly white American melting pot with Ryans and Zachs and Logans. I mean, is a name like Barack, because, I mean, there can be Barrick. Is that going to be a big deal? Are we saying his name wrong?
Yeah, I think that the biggest highlight for me here is that Vivek has done the Chuck Grassley 99 County Tour twice in Iowa, and you still have individuals struggling to say his name. And I think that says a lot about his campaign and the name recognition issue that's prevalent. So
that was what kind of, I believe, happened with me. So I had a buddy run for city council with me, and great guy, great friend, and if he had better ideas or whatever, but he had an easier last name to say and spell. And from what I've seen historically of people like Bush versus Kerry, Bush spoke like the people. He had a simpler name. Kerry, it was also easy to spell, but he spoke above people. Where do you guys see Vivek on is he resonating with Iowans? I've got a shirt. I'll put it up here on the screen. I'm going to have my Poor Men West of Richmond shirts available for sale on my site. So click there and buy that stuff. But is he resonating with the poor people west of Richmond?
I don't know. I think, we've seen now he's, the third, fourth billionaire in recent years to run for the office of president. Uh-huh. So far, only one has actually succeeded in getting that. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that much about a president's net worth when I am considering them. Mm-hmm. I think Vivek has a lot of points that are resonating with a lot of people when he talks about the deep state, getting rid of the FBI, all these different things, eliminating the deep state, which...
is that even a thing? Is that even possible?
I don't think it's possible for one person to do it. Personally, I feel like the statement of, defunding the FBI is a little extreme. I feel that's no different from when, back in 2020 when Democrats were saying we need to defund the police. I think a giant blanket statement that serious needs a lot more consideration.
Was he the one that was like day one 75% reduction in federal bureaucracies?
And I don't think
is that realistic? I mean, who are we talking about getting rid of? Are you going to shut down the EPA?
I don't think it's realistic at all. I think it's definitely going to be taken up to the Supreme Court almost immediately, and they're going to have some major rulings. And I'm sure there will be a few concessions.
But we agree that them making policies that are enforced as law is also not constitutional.
Oh, absolutely.
So how could it go to the Supreme Court? How could it go to any level other than an executive order?
Because a lot of how our country is governed isn't just law, it's also precedent. And so the Supreme Court's going to have to step in and say, how have things been done in the past? What was the original intent of the Constitution? You know, because there are certain things that has pretty much always been delegated to an executive agency, you know, like taking the federal census every 10 years and determining how many states get,
How many votes?
how many representatives
Yep.
each state gets. You know, for obvious reasons, the Congress hasn't voted specifically on which state gets how many votes, but, you know, that's kind of implied in the Constitution, whereas, you know, something like the EPA deciding what grade of gasoline you can put in your Mazda versus a diesel truck, I think is a little ridiculous.
Sure. So let's stay on Ramaswamy. What social skills? When he first debate, I was talking to a young lady last night or tonight, and it was like, hey, he was citing Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment of you should be don't say anything bad about anybody in the Republican Party. I don't know about this thing, but
Okay.
but he seemed a lot more unifying, and now it's just like
Off the
5-inch
walls.
heels, Dick Cheney, lipstick. You're you like pointing at people. I mean, just these very aggressive tones.
Yes.
Is this helpful? Is this good for him? I've also heard that he the Republican, because years ago it came out in like a CNN interview, like the chairman of like the Republican convention was like, people think that they actually vote for the president. No, that's not how it works. And it was like this really big constitutional lesson for
Yeah.
the viewers, but it's a shock to people. And so if they choose who the president's going to be or the nominee is going to be, if he is getting, we want to elevate Nikki Haley, is he having a temper tantrum right now? You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if they've already picked that, like, it's not going to be you. Is he fighting against this because he isn't bought and paid for, because he is a billionaire? He is a Trump in the
Yeah.
sense that I don't have to appeal to anybody. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a great point here is like if you look at the donor threshold for this debate, obviously it was 80,000 unique donors, and then if you look at the poll percentage, you had to be at 8%, and so I think obviously each of these candidates has their own respectful amount of donors, individuals supporting their campaign, and so the statement "bought and paid for" I struggle with personally, just because, like Ryan mentioned, we've seen a lot of billionaires run with Perry Johnson, Donald Trump, Vivek, and these self-funded individuals where people believe that they'd have no true influence behind them. But when it comes to like your statement earlier regarding like Vivek's blanket statements for getting rid of the FBI and the three little organizations, I think that those resonate with young people so well because it's a fresh new idea. And young people obviously are a little bit more emotional and want to try and take
Start everything from scratch. Take nothing new. Or
Exactly.
take nothing old. Old equals bad.
And he did a really great job at the beginning, kind of highlighting on some of those major issues. Like he was one of the first candidates to come out and say that there are only two genders, talking a lot about the truth, reverse racism is racism. And those things really hit well, but he wasn't able to further divulge on those topics. And so it just kind of fizzled out, kind of like Ryan had mentioned.
I do agree. That resonated with me with him, was he's not shying away from, let's jump on the trans topic, because Christie should be eliminated from the Republican Party for what he said tonight.
Yeah.
That was okay. So one of the shirts that I'd love to sell, and I may put it on my website, is 20X. Just giant letters, 20X. You guys want to take a stab at that? When you go through a sex change, 5 to 7 years after a sex change as a young adult, you are 20 times more likely to commit suicide.
Okay.
This transgender movement, this homosexual movement, is demonic.
Yeah.
This is the Auschwitz of our generation. We're the German people, and our government and this Department of Education is pushing a demonic ideology that is killing young people.
Yeah.
And that is if you look up the Baphomet, which is the satanic idol, which is like a goat man thing in his throne, there's a young boy and a young girl at the throne looking up to this thing. That's who they're going after. They're not trying to get you guys to chop your body parts off. They are going to the young children at school. And if Vivek and Ron DeSantis are willing to say, this is illegal, you cannot, Ron, totally grabbed my heart when Chris Christie was saying, oh, I trust parents. You cannot abuse, you don't have a right to abuse your children.
Absolutely. I think, in my opinion, when the Pride movement got a hold of rainbows, I think that was a very intentional move on their part because, children like pretty colors, and plastering that on everything, saying it's about being inclusive and accepting people and making, people like us feel guilty for not wanting to violate our own beliefs and lie to make you feel good is just completely unacceptable. I don't think we should be doing sex change surgeries at all, but especially on a minor. If you can't get a tattoo until you're 18, you have no business getting something that severe done to your body. Your parents have no business authorizing something like that. Doctors and schools have no business going behind your parents' back to let something like that happen. It's unacceptable. It's disgusting. Here in Iowa, where it still happens, but to a much lesser extent than in other states. I know California recently passed a bill that will give the state authority to remove the child from your custody and put it into social services if you refuse to let them get a sex change surgery.
And this is all on just our continent. I mean, Canada is, you'll go to jail, fines. You have no, the kid, you don't have to, the child doesn't have to say or do anything. And this is what happens when a nation turns its back on God.
Yeah.
The Bible is very clear. It says that God resists the proud. Why are we using the word they using the word pride?
Yeah.
You are shaking your fist at, there are two genders, end of story. Sex and gender, any discussion beyond this, I'm serious. Everyone was like, well, okay, I guess maybe. I called in to American Family Radio.
Okay.
And I responded to a comment made by a commentator that was, oh, hey, what happened to the Red Movement? All these Christians didn't show up and vote. And I called in, and I guess I just stood on my soapbox, but I said, we are not going to fix this country in the polls. We're going to fix it at the dinner table.
Yeah.
And if people are unwilling to open their mouths and open their Bibles, and from the fathers in the house, tell their children what is right and wrong, and say, this is so simple. This is so simple. The polls are a result, but I also told him, how can we expect anything in our country to get better when we raise our kids in Christian homes, but then send them to public school?
Yeah.
You don't say we got to change that. Your kid is not changing the school. The school is changing your kid. That school tells them for 8 hours a day, don't listen to mom and dad when you go home. They don't know how to do Common Core math.
Yeah.
Why would I listen to them about religion and philosophy and God? This is the unfolding. So I do appreciate, coming from a guy who, we can get to the guy's belief system here in a second, but I do. Chris Christie, fail. I don't care about anything that you have to say. You are enabling these death camps.
Yeah.
And the death camp is our schools and kids hearing this crap.
Well, not to mention, even if everything goes perfectly well with a surgery like that and they don't get depression, they don't get suicidal, they're going to have to be on medication and all that fun stuff for the rest of their life, or they will die from an infection or,
a G-rated version of what you just said, which, careful, little ears, what you're about to hear. I will not say the egregious version. The things that are required for children to maintain this new cut-up body is is pedophilically pornographic, and there are no cameras around. You now have to, you as a child, now have to deal with the scars and the orifices that are not, your body is resisting them.
Yeah.
And you have to maintain those things. That is disgustingly, these are the people who should be on death row. These are the same guys on trial in Nuremberg.
Yeah, and I think circling back to the Vivek comment earlier, I think that one of the big things that he runs on is that the young people today lack a purpose. And obviously, I think that one thing that he fails to mention is that that purpose comes from Christ. And so we obviously are no longer a majority Christ-centered society. And like you said, I think the big issue is the nuclear family has been destroyed. Do with that what may you will. I think everybody has their theory on that one, but that's why events like tonight are so important, so that we provide young Republicans like Ryan and myself a community of like-minded individuals that have and the opportunity to express their views and have those tough conversations. And a big shout out to Representative Jeff Shipley a couple weeks ago, held Chloe Cole, an individual who's detransitioned, and allow her to share her story with our community. So I'm a big supporter of local events like these that help individuals find that sense of community, and individuals, like most young Republicans, know Christ. And so I think that these are great opportunities for folks to really try to get back to that Christ-centered society.
Well, and I think a part of the destruction of the nuclear family, comes down to, you said it starts at the dinner table, where
Ronald Reagan said that.
Oh,
All great change in America begins at the dinner table.
yeah. But the thing is, when we're incentivizing people to not have a dinner table anymore, to, incentivizing parents to get divorced or to not get married in the first place, giving social welfare checks only if they're not married, if there's no father figure in the picture. And then the moment that one shows up, you're on your own, you can figure it out. We need to reevaluate as a society, how can we work on getting people off social welfare, get them self-sufficient, how to, once you're self-sufficient, once you're, making a good income, a lot of people, start to settle down and have kids, when they're ready. And that's a discussion that needs to be had as well.
Marriage is I was talking to another friend tonight, his three points that he would want to hear about are marriage, abortion, and I can't remember what the third one was. It may have been the border, but it was the border. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so marriage, that's why anything for me coming right of the left it's the destruction of the nuclear family. It is the promotion of single motherhood. That's not normal. That's not okay. And marriage is important. It is a promise. It is the body of, I guess I was questioning him as to why, what part of marriage? And it was like, the legalization of homosexual marriage. Well, should the state be involved in even heterosexual marriage? Those are the types of things that I'm not sure we're ever going to get around to, but I guess the change in America that I guess everybody's hoping for, you're not going to change it with one person in a building in Washington, D.C. And if everybody wants like a new coach for the team, that's where I see a problem. Like for my vote, I'm more interested in these local people that, you guys are networking with, who are going to be making changes to things that impact especially young kids.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit off topic, but not completely. I think a big problem is that so many people have faith that the president can change everything. And I think that's a big issue, because every 4 to 8 years, half the country is going to be pissed off. We've given that office way more power than it's constitutionally entitled to, way more power than one person should have. Obviously, that goes into just some of the stuff we touched on earlier about the deep state and, bureaucrats, all that fun stuff that I won't get into right now. But, if we had a society that was functioning around the original Constitution's idea of limited government, where the states pick up the majority, state and local governments do the majority of stuff like education, roads, all that fun stuff, and our federal government takes care of international and interstate commerce, post offices, and defense, then I think we'd be in a lot better place where there's not such division between you and your neighbor, and yeah.
Sure. Well, I will say there is one that can change, and that is Jesus. And Trump's not going to change you or me, or anybody else. Christ can change us, and then we can make more babies, and they can change more in the world. So America will pass away, just like Rome did when they introduced the homosexual thing. But in the meantime, this is the government that we have. So let's keep moving on to all these losers here running for president. Okay, you guys like Nikki Haley, right? No? Yes? Ish? I'm kidding. They're not all losers. They're bozos. So can I say, if Vivek and Ron could get together, I saw them as much as they were at each other's throats, I saw that they were aligning more together on things that we've been talking about that actually matter. And I see a lot of on the list here for Nikki Haley, it was the whole bought and paid for thing. I do agree with this circular what do they call that, the door in a circular revolving door, yeah, because that goes on. That happened with Clarence Thomas with Monsanto. You got lobbyists you're an attorney for Monsanto, and then you're legislating on behalf of those types of things. Though I'm glad that he addressed the whole that you can't sue a pharmaceutical company for a vaccine injury.
Yeah,
that's crazy. You can patent life. The corn in all of these fields in Iowa, if my non-GMO corn that's not patented gets blown on by your patented thing, that you can shut my farm down. That's insane. How do we grow food? It's all about money. So I like the fact that Vivek was speaking up about that, or was it Ron?
Vivek,
yeah. That's the part that I really like about him. So where do you guys stand on TikTok with the whole Nikki Haley thing? And hey, I mean, she spoke about it, right? But then Vivek got on her daughter's case in the last one. Yeah. What's that about?
Yeah. So I think that there's a strong need for a deeper dive into social medias like TikTok and kind of where their allegiance lies. I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but TikTok is banned for all state employees' devices. I believe
they can't have it on a state-funded phone.
Yep. So okay. I believe that there's a data integrity issue there, and I think that definitely needs to be addressed. But as far as the TikTok thing, I think that's a tough sell for some of these candidates because for young voters, I mean, they see an older candidate that just wants to abolish social medias and ruin the fun for everybody, and so I think they need to take a new approach to how they present this information, because in order to appeal to young people and young voters, we're not sitting around being oh, I love Vivek Ramaswamy because he wants to get rid of TikTok. I think that he needs to show a more appealing perspective to individuals that are going to be voting on why it's important that we have more data integrity when it comes to these social medias.
So at least in the state of Iowa, I don't believe there's any formal guidance on the TikTok issue. When I worked at the state capitol, I opted to remove it from my phone just because, I had done some research about data integrity on it, and I didn't want to risk anything. I still don't have it just because it's a waste of time. But I am concerned with the prospect of giving the government the power to single-handedly ban an app to ban anything from private citizens, on an app. I think that would be a little bit of a First Amendment violation. However, I do think it would be good to kind of establish some standards as it relates to privacy regulation for foreign companies doing business here in the United States. They can't be collecting, every snippet of information about us, how long we sleep, where we go to work, what we like to eat. They can't be doing that kind of stuff on American citizens, and the government needs to take a look at how we can regulate that at large rather than saying, okay, well, we don't like this app, it's gone, because that's just way too much power to single-handedly, individually go through an app and eliminate it from the market.
Give me an example of something that's like, you know what, this is egregious, and yeah, you kind of have the freedom to do it, but it's not okay.
That's a tough one.
Fentanyl.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, drugs.
drug use.
I mean, is it a violation of, like, I mean, it's your body, your choice. So, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is, where do we take the internet is the Wild West,
Yeah.
because we can sit here and say TikTok is like an agent for like China, but what about porn? Because I just read something this morning that said over 1 million men, if they had their secrecy or their privacy guaranteed, would abuse young boys. That was like in a Swedish poll. The only reason they're not doing it more is because of secrecy. We have
Okay.
AI, and we have TikTok and Snapchat, and it can like put all these stupid filters. Why is porn legal? Do you see where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Where like you have something that is like, you know what? Okay, this is kind of like you got to go out and find it. But now when you're scrolling on Facebook, that's why I got off Facebook, because it was pushing porn to me. Like I was scrolling through it like with my kids. I mean, we have like, if I can look at it, you can look at it.
Yeah.
So as I'm scrolling with my kids and this kind of stuff goes up, it's like, whoa, I can't be on this app anymore.
Yeah.
Why are people being abused? And is that ever going to be an agenda where it's like, well, you know, they're controlling conservative views on Twitter and TikTok and all this stuff? There are children being like, who is going to legislate and say,
So I don't recall what state it was. Well, sorry to interject. Logan showed me that Governor Reynolds in December of last year did issue a formal directive banning TikTok on Iowa on devices owned by
Okay.
the state of
Well,
Iowa.
good
So
fact check.
Yep.
thank you for fact checking me there, Twitter. Sorry, X now. No, I can't. I don't recall what state it was. There was one state that they actually passed a law banning, like requiring pornographic websites to do an age verification that you have to be at least 18 to access this website. Was it Virginia? And there's several porn industries that just completely stopped offering their website in that state because it was too hard to verify that they're over 18, which I think says a lot about who their target demographic is in the first place.
there was a principal in a school. I just saw this on a documentary. He's a drag queen. And he was caught watching child porn,
Okay.
but it was thrown out because they could not prove the age of the girl in the video. So it was, well, we can't prove that she's not 18, so it got thrown out.
Yeah.
So the guy's still a principal.
He's still a principal.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I thought
so-
you were going to just say
no,
he wasn't
and I'm pretty
charged.
sure this is in Oklahoma. Check it out. I'll have to find out where it was, and I may put a link in there. But that is those technicalities. What's magical about 18? Why can you, you know, the whole like, oh, you can die for your country at 18, but you can't drink until you're 21?
Yeah.
What's magical about 18? You're saying 17 years and 9 months, you're like a child, but then like on your 18th birthday, okay, porn's okay, smoking's
Yeah.
okay, voting's okay.
Well, smoking's 21 now, so.
In Iowa.
Is,
yeah.
oh, okay, so you see my point?
No, yeah.
Like
absolutely.
we have technology that was not available to us in the Constitution and its original intent.
So I think it.
And I'm
That's a
sorry to
good
take us
point.
down like a bunny trail. We're gonna
No,
go back
that's
to the
a
candidates
good
here in
point.
a
I mean,
second.
like they do have. I don't know how much you've been keeping up on AI, but it's getting fairly impressive what it can accomplish. You know, I think. I'm not sure how the government would implement it on the federal level. On the state level, I know they absolutely can and should. But you know, you could implement AI filters essentially on porn websites that, you know, if somebody tries uploading something like that, you know, it flags that and reports it to the police. You know, that
I'm talking about the
technology
observers.
exists, but
like clearly somebody at some point said alcohol and driving doesn't mix.
yeah,
But that was nobody cared if you were drunk driving a horse and carriage. Now that we're going 70 miles an hour down the road,
It's a big
you're killing
difference.
people.
Yeah.
And also, like, children, it's like, where did the age thing come in? It's not only drinking and driving. There's many parameters of limits where something that is age old, like alcohol, like smoking, marijuana, or any other, whatever you're doing to get your fix, we see the negative impact of it. And I'm not about making more laws and making more restrictions, but when people start getting hurt, how many kids have to be abused before somebody says, you're not allowed to observe it? I don't care what you're doing. Like, look at the subway guy.
Yeah.
Can I comment?
Yeah, go for it.
So when I worked at the state capitol in 2022, they passed a law updating Iowa's child pornography law, saying that now it used to be if someone was caught with it, they can be charged per victim that they have a photo of. Now it is per photo per victim. Okay? And that seems like a pretty good bill, right? It took about 45 minutes to pass because the Democrats kept standing up and they're like, so what about artwork? What if you draw it? Is this going to ban
And I'm going
that?
to tell you something. My wife took art classes in college. This is why I forget college. Forget college.
Yeah.
If you're going to be selling candy bars in the gas station anyway, save yourself all the money.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay? We need architects. We need engineers. We need nurses. We need doctors. We need lawyers. We do because
I like the eye roll there.
Okay. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where if she was taking art classes and you have, we're going to paint apples. Well, the next day we're painting a naked student. I'm sorry, that's pornography.
Yeah.
You are telling a person, the art students could paint a painting of a nude person, that was a really bad example. My point is that you have a student. Oh yeah, it's just art. I took acting at Iowa State.
Yeah.
It's all homosexual. It's all pornographic. It's all sexual. If you look at all of what's going on, Hollywood is Sodom and Gomorrah. And I tell my kids this, where if you aspire to be on American Idol and America's Got Talent and all these other things, you just want to be looked at. You want to be elevated, and it's all homosexual and it's all demonic. It is. It's a place where you run away from home because your family doesn't accept you, and this is where you go and you do that. And it turns into this kind of crap.
Yeah.
Oh, student has to be naked and paint them, or I'm going to give you an F. Oh, you don't want to be a real artist. I can paint 10 million other things other than a naked person in front of me.
Yeah.
It's pornographic. And that's what these surgeons are doing with the trans thing with children. My dad asked an elder in our church like 40 years ago, where is this homosexual thing going? And he said, it's to legalize pedophilia. And I'm watching this 5-hour podcast interview with a guy named Victor Marx. He's like the fastest disarming guy.
Oh, I think I've seen it.
Dude, watch it. I'm watching it with my kids. It is nuts. This guy had the craziest childhood, and he said that these people, he was abused as a child. Like, horrible. Like, this guy on there, he goes, you have the most messed up life that I've ever heard in my life. But he gives all the credit to, like, a normal life now to Christ. That's why I'm watching it with my kids, because I'm like, Christ can fix anything. You can be a new creation in Christ. That's why I'm watching it with them, because they're, I've been messed up, and that's why I'm, this violent whatever. God can fix things. This guy said that the goal for these people is to have laws that support pedophilia. And there's another shirt that I'm going to have for sale. It's a plus sign.
Okay.
You want to take a stab? LGBTQ plus.
Oh, yeah.
Under that plus sign is minor attracted. Your sexual identity is that you are sexually attracted to minors.
Yeah.
And, that's my identity. That's who I identify. No. I'm drawing the line.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with that, because now those kids are your victims. This is prey. These are wolves
Yeah.
preying on innocent children. And the parents and schools and politicians we're going to get canceled. We got to be nice. We have to inclusivity. No. So back to these people. You were going to say something.
Yeah. So I think an overarching theme here is the fact that we need to be able to give more parents more power when it comes to their children's education. Like you said, the conversation at the dinner table.
Homeschooling.
A great thing we got passed in this last year in Iowa is ESAs, Educational Savings Accounts, and school choice. And I have an office over in Ottumwa, and I got to sit down with Brian White, who's one of the board members of the Ottumwa Christian School. And we had a really great conversation where he talked about how he's seen a doubling in enrollment of the Ottumwa Christian School just because of these educational savings accounts. And so what's been really nice to see is that parents now have more power in their children's education. And so addressing that overarching theme in our today's society where we're lacking that Christ-centered society, I think this is going to be a great movement here in Iowa to start to see more parents send their children to Christian schools or homeschool their children so they have more say. But that's why I have a little bit of a problem with Vivek taking that banning approach to social medias instead of addressing the real issues, because at the end of the day, you can ban TikTok. There's just going to be a new app.
I agree.
And so instead of taking this blanket approach, we need to address the real issues when it comes to the data integrity and the moral convictions that lie within the problems that are faced on these apps. And so I think that it's a great talking point, but I think it lacks action. So that's what.
Well, you also can't ban somebody from owning something.
Yeah.
Because it's. I mean,
They'll
get rid
find
of
a
the
way
phone.
to get it.
Yeah. I mean, and that does boil down to a parenting thing where I don't agree. What Chris Christie said about I trust that parents make the best choice for their kids. I get that. I really do. But when I watch this father in Canada who is being separated, who has like a restraining order on communicating with his child, and his divorced wife is signing off on hormone blockers and the surgery to change this, that guy is going to go down in history as someone who did whatever he possibly could, even go to jail, to tell his child, I love you more than what this crazy carnivorous mother that you have is doing.
Yeah.
And that is so it's so hard because I don't think laws fix things.
You can't legislate morality.
No, you can't. And so that's where my American version is just completely flooded with a spiritual battle going on in America. It's just it starts with separation of church and state, which was a letter from Thomas Jefferson. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in it's not
there. Yeah.
No, but not understanding that a lot of these founding fathers were Masons.
Yeah.
And they were just deists. And as above, so below. You look at these paintings of George Washington. Where's he pointing? There is a lot of satanic stuff in the architecture of Washington D.C. And this morality going on. There's a lot of craziness that. Like, oh, George Washington was such a great guy. Well, he is now the Greenbaugh made a statue of him. He is the Baal of America. I gave a sermon on this. Look it up. One of the 7 wonders of the ancient world is Zeus. This massive statue of Zeus, and that was Rome's Baal. Baal means God.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you've got the Greek version, you've got all these other versions, and he is put in that same position. He's holding a sword with the hilt facing out to the people, representing that after the Revolutionary War, look at this great leader. He gave the power back to the people.
Yeah.
But he's pointing like this, and I showed a comparison that Baphomet, that Satanist thing, is doing the same thing. That same posture. We have our own Baal in America. People worship this country, and that is the problem I have with Republicans, conservatives. I mean, we could go into a whole different discussion about even the word conservative, because people can have like their traditions and stuff, but when people understand what a traditional conservative Republican was, you're conserving what? You're conserving, there were abolitionists, there were conservative Republicans. Those were the 2 groups. The abolitionists were the Thaddeus Stevens, who said black people are people. and they get every single right that we have. Conservative Republicans were anti-slavery, but they were not equal rights. You're same under the law. You're not same under God. So we're going to give you a vote. You're only 3/5 of a person. This is where we got to be really, really careful with throwing these words out on what they mean. Because if we are not fundamentally on the same spiritual page, I'm not convinced a lot of I don't know if you guys see these podcasters that are this trad wife thing going on. Mm-mm. Traditional wives. Oh, the wife stays at home. It's anti-feminist, which is fine, which is great. I mean, feminism is like an absolute insane thing unto itself. And it has turned into, we need to destroy and emasculate this country, which would tie into the whole trans thing. How do we not make a defending force in this country? We have to destroy and emasculate the generation that will defend us from an invading force. Yeah. Make all the boys girls and tell all the men that they don't have anything to say over women. We have emasculated this country to the point where we won't be able to defend ourselves. Your kids will not likely live in a free country. It's just a fact.
We're trying to prevent that from happening, but you go ahead.
And one point you touched on, I was trying to look it up here. Sorry for being on my phone.
Research
you said
is
people,
acceptable.
Okay, you were saying that people worship this country and all that. That's one thing we're trying to do is to make people realize that the founding fathers weren't gods. A lot of
And
people.
there were believers in there. I will give you that.
Yeah.
Did George Washington sign the Declaration of Independence?
He did not.
He did not. Good job. I'm so proud of you.
Do you know how old the youngest signer of the Declaration of Independence was?
Had to have been in their 20s, maybe younger.
20s, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Ryan's the brains behind the wireless, by the way.
Edward.
This is why we get along. He's a facts guy.
Yeah.
Edward Rutledge was
I'm a
26.
fat guy.
Edward Rutledge was 26 years old when he signed the Declaration of Independence. There's many people under 40, I believe. My brain just shut off, but that guy that ran on horseback, Paul Revere, I believe he was under 40 at the time of our nation's founding.
Yeah, all of those guys were in their
he-
prime in their early to mid 30s.
And people think that politics is this far out of touch thing, and that's just not true. It's just a matter of getting involved. When I worked at the state capitol, one thing that shocked me, I maybe wrote a letter back to a constituent 2 or 3 times. Most of the time it was my representative that I worked for personally writing a letter back whenever you send him an email. So at least local government is like that. On my township board, whenever somebody calls me and has a concern, earlier this year, there was a tree that fell down in our township thing, and it broke the fence line, and they're like, okay, what are we going to do? It's not in the budget to fix that. And the clerk was saying that, and me and one of the other trustees was like, well, I have a truck, you have a chainsaw, let's go clean this up. And within a few hours we were able to get that done without going through all the bureaucracy of the point is, if you get involved, you can really make a difference. You don't have to come from wealth. I certainly didn't. You don't have to know a ton of people. You'll meet them as you get more involved.
So let's talk about Ron DeSantis here. I just kept getting he's so hard to look at. Is he squinting? Is his face, all this stuff, whatever. Where do you guys stand on Ron? Sounds like he's kind of a, all Trump, but now no Trump. I can't tell. My problem is that I agree with Chris Christie. He doesn't answer questions.
Do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think that what we've seen with Ron DeSantis when he first announced his campaign, I think that he had an overwhelming majority of support because of his record in Florida. I think that people have seen the action steps that he's taken. They've seen the great results. Florida is obviously thriving when it comes to population. People, I'm not sure if anybody out there watched the Newsom-DeSantis debate where he mentioned 500 times that people are flocking from California to Florida, which is true. And I think that he's done a great job in Florida as far as moving them to become a more prosperous state. But I think that the problem with DeSantis is that he lacks that true appeal, like you were talking about just earlier, is that was he squinting? He lacks that authoritative nature that you want to see in a presidential candidate. And I think that a lot of his statements, while they might not be false, they're not always truly factual. Got the Dunkin' order going there. Yeah, coffee's always good, especially late at night. But I
probably won't like what we're talking about.
But I think that he lacks that it factor that each candidate has. Like, Christie's a great debater. Obviously, some things that come out of his mouth aren't the greatest. Haley's got that kind of the girl boss mentality. Vivek's got fresh young ideas with young people. And DeSantis just lacks that it factor. And I think that that's why it's hard for a lot of people to resonate with him, and that's why you've seen him decline in the polls, is that, yeah, he's visited all 99 counties in Iowa, but, like, what does he really do to grab your attention?
Where Chris Christie's not even on the thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like lowest of low.
Yeah.
What is you got Trump, then who? Like, what are they in order?
Well, can I interject back to Ron DeSantis real quick?
As soon as you answer my question.
Okay. Wow. Okay. If I had to,
I mean, is it known? Like, polls?
Statistically, or who I
Yeah,
like?
no, statistically.
Statistically, it goes Trump, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Ramaswamy, and then
A big gap, and
Christie
then Chris
is-
Christie.
yeah.
Okay.
All
All right, now go back to your thing.
So as far as Ron DeSantis goes, I'm sorry, that gain is high. As far as Ron DeSantis goes, personally, I used to like him. I mean, I don't have anything against the guy, probably, I would
Except
say.
that he got married at Disney.
Yeah. Well, hey, he's done a lot of good work reeling back Disney's
Yeah.
power. No, so I, really liked Ron DeSantis when he first started, but after that first debate, one thing that really stuck out to me, and you can go watch it, was, they were like, if Donald Trump is, convicted of one of these crimes, will you still endorse him? You signed this pledge that you would. Will you still support him? And everyone seemed to have their minds made up. Vivek immediately stuck his hand up. I think Chris Christie did not. But Ron
He put his
DeSantis-
hand up to say that he didn't want
Ron
to.
DeSantis, you can look. He kind of looks side to side to see
Yeah.
what everyone else is
Yeah.
doing, and that's not what we need in a leader. I'm sorry.
What do you guys think of a Vivek Ron, like Ron running under Vivek?
I did think that obviously they're two really strong personalities, and I just don't think that they would either like let their ego succumb to the VP idea. I never see Vivek as somebody who would take a VP position just because he.
No, I'm saying Vivek is president and Ron under him.
There's no chance. I don't think that Ron would take that VP nod in any day.
Do you see any of these candidates if they? Okay, let's go back into the Trump thing. Can he? I haven't been watching like super close. I just know he's in court all the time.
Yeah.
And we're going to come back to that here in a second. Is he like going to be convicted? Has he been convicted?
He has been indicted, so he will be standing trial for some of the crimes. How that will play out is yet to be determined by a jury of his peers.
So
Not
what's
sure how
the
you're gonna find
process?
his
You're
peers.
charged, you're indicted, you're convicted, or you are acquitted?
That's correct.
Okay, so he has been charged. They have found enough evidence to say, okay,
Let's go to trial.
and so the charge, you can, if you plead guilty, you accept the charge. The indictment is, hey, we have enough to charge, like to keep going, and you're saying I'm going to defend myself.
I believe that's correct. I'm not 100% familiar of the legal process. Fortunately, I haven't had to go through it.
But is it likely he's going to be like convicted?
I honestly don't know. I think he has a good shot if he is convicted of appealing it in court and saying that, like, hey, I don't know, it's impossible for me to have a fair trial of my peers because I don't have any peers. Essentially, I honestly have no idea how this trial is
Do you
going to play
think that
out.
it is
I think they're going to kind of try to take as long as possible to hold him up if he gets a Republican
So
nomination.
that's my question. Do you see, in general, would you guys prefer to not see Trump, like as president? Like if he was not being attacked as he is right now, would it be like go Trump?
So I think he has lost to Biden already. And
agree.
we need a candidate that can win. You know, regardless if you think the 2020 election had fraud in it, I'm not really going to debate that, but I don't believe there was enough fraud to have changed the results. What we really need, which we were hoping for in 2022, didn't really turn out that well, was a red wave. We need a landslide victory where there's no question about who won. That way we can restore faith in the public voting system. You know, Logan and I both work, you know, talking to voters. And one thing that we keep seeing again and again is someone's like, oh, I'm not going to vote anymore because I don't think it counts. And it does. You know, back in 2018, our Congresswoman, Representative Marionette Miller Meeks, won by 6 individual votes. You know, I have a few friends that are Democrats, and I was like, hey, you need to go vote. And they didn't, and I'm kind of glad they didn't. Because if they had, the results would have been a lot different. And, you know, I think we really need to restore faith in our public voting system. Especially here in Iowa, we are ranked 3rd in the nation for our election security, and that's something to be proud of. We need to work towards getting to number 1, but we have mandatory audits. I think one way to restore faith is to kind of change the system a little bit, like, you know, putting watermarks and serial numbers on our ballots so we can track them, and people can't just flood it with 100,000 ballots, whether or not that happened. But, you know, just so people have that faith in the election system, whether or not it's already secure.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, so kind of going off the initial question regarding the Trump indictments and legal cases. So it was. You're okay. So I keep turning. That's my bad. But it was announced today that the Supreme Court is going to step in regarding the January 6 cases. So that should be pretty interesting to see how that turns out. Obviously, the Supreme Court is Trump's Supreme Court, so that might be in his favor. But to kind of agree with Ryan's sentiment, I think that Donald Trump is probably the best president of my lifetime. He did a lot of great things as president, but there was a lot of unfulfilled promises. And I think at this point, like Ryan said, since 2017, we've become a losing party. I mean, if you look at 2020 and if you look at 2022, even this year's elections, we lost both the House and Senate in Virginia. Ohio legalized abortion. And so I think that when it comes to next year's election and Ryan's statement that Trump's already lost to Biden, I think that there are enough people in this country that hate Donald Trump for the wrong reasons that love him for the right reasons. And Trump's going to turn out Democrats. Trump's going to turn away voters that don't like Trump or Biden. And at this point, we need a candidate that can win. We cannot take another 4 years to Joe Biden.
And you don't see that being Trump?
I think that if Donald Trump's our nominee next year, there's a very strong possibility that he loses to Joe Biden and we deal with another 4 years.
So
even if Trump does win in 2024, he can only serve 1 term. No one's disputing that. You know.
So I keep looking and going like, man, we're not talking about all these other people, but I mean, Trump is honestly the thing to talk about because like we have to live in a reality where he's going to run even from jail or however. I don't even know what that looks like, but I mean, I'm kind of a plan, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Like I'm planning for the worst, which is you have all Democrats there's no Democrat that's going to vote for Donald Trump. Do we agree?
I'd say that's fair.
Okay.
Very accurate.
So if you have basically 50% of the country, in a little history lesson, with McKinley dying in office, his vice president, Teddy Roosevelt, I think he died, like he gave his inauguration speech for his second term, potentially. He died from pneumonia shortly after his inauguration. So
that was the 9th president, I believe. Was it not?
Hoover,
Because John Tyler was...
Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, McKinley, Roosevelt. So it was McKinley. I don't know what the reason was.
Okay.
Because Teddy Roosevelt got shot.
Yes.
Regardless, McKinley died in office, and Teddy Roosevelt got most of his term.
correct.
And he took on, the monopolies and all this stuff, did the national parks and all this stuff. He was like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. He was the youngest president, and potentially his wife died. But regardless, he didn't run a second term, and he promoted Taft, big fat guy.
Yeah.
And
He
hey,
got stuck in the White House bathtub.
yes, and he was, hey, you're going to finish all these policies that I had. And since he did not fulfill them, Roosevelt, in Taft's second term, he was like, no, I'm going to run. And Taft's like, no, I'm going to run. And the Republicans supported Taft.
Mm-hmm.
So Roosevelt got ticked off, and he started the Bull Moose Party.
That's correct.
So this is why we got Wilson, a Democrat. The first movie played in the White House was a Ku Klux Klan movie under Wilson.
Yep.
And Wilson was not a good guy. So, but he only got like 35% of the vote.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got somebody who won with a third because the right was divided.
That's correct.
So my point is that back then we had a very Republican country. Okay?
Yeah.
Now we have half and half. And they're getting votes. I mean, there's a whole, if dead people are voting, our elections are fraudulent, okay?
When I die, don't let me vote Democrat.
Yes, yeah. So, what do they say in Chicago? Vote Democrat and vote often, whatever. Anyway,
That was Virginia.
yeah.
Yes.
So there is fraud going on. You can't really prove this stuff. So my point is, what is going to go on in a Biden world in a second term? What's going to go on with Trump? Like, everybody is all on board with Trump. Mm-hmm. Is what do you guys, when he says I'm going to be I won't be a dictator except on day one, does that scare you guys?
Very much so.
When
And
he
that's
says
because-
throw out the Constitution, make me president, does that scare you guys?
Absolutely, and he did that. That was one of his policies that I was completely against. Was when he told Mike Pence, "Do not open those ballots. Don't certify this election." I'm sorry, that's not your prerogative. The people had it.
And I support Pence for doing what he did.
I do.
And I also see all these conservative, like the what's his name, Steven Crowder. It's like these people. This is why this is idolatry. People are worshiping Trump. It's no longer like, do you guys want to eat out at Chinese buffet or do you want to eat at McDonald's? It's not like this benign choice. It is, I don't care who he's killed. I don't care who he's grabbed. I don't care what he said. I don't care what jail cell he's in. I'm going to vote for Trump no matter what. La, 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 la. You're not listening to any of these other people. That kind of stuff scares me about Republicans.
Yeah, and it used to be the intolerable left, over and over again from Republicans, conservatives, and now it's like we had an individual comment on I made a post tonight, just kind of showing our crowd at the party just to promote the event, and we had an individual talking about Trump won the debate, this and that, and it's like that's irrelevant. This event is a community event for young Republicans to get together and build community, and like it's just Trump won the debate, and it's just like this spewing the same comments over and over again, living in that echo chamber and just not being open to different ideals or thought processes. And so I think that's the problem that we have, is that a lot of these, the Trump cult, as you mentioned them, just refuse to listen to any outside opinion or
even inside opinion.
Yeah.
They're a part of the party. I mean, is he going to run like for the Trump party? You know what I mean? Like, is that going to be
Mike
the third
Pence
party?
was still on the ballot, I would probably be caucusing for him. I think he.
The way he talks is a disqualifying factor.
I like his policy.
Is now I'm going to let me speak, and I was on the radio, and this and the hand motions and the pauses. He drives me absolutely bonkers.
But
I want to go
think
punch somebody.
I think
because of how he speaks.
Trump really ruined Pence's career by forcing him into that position. There was, on January 6th, I mean, not everyone that went there was there to like do harm. Some people were just like, oh, look, we can go see what the Capitol looks like. Some people didn't even go inside. Some people were outside. But there was a handful that were, chanting, hang Mike Pence. And that's...
I'll say this. If Alex Jones was there saying, everybody calm down, that whole thing was staged. You understand what I'm saying? That guy is like a lunatic, like right-wing nut job.
Yeah.
And if he's telling people, no, No, stop. Like whatever. That was all those were actors.
Yeah.
All of it.
I don't disagree that it was like I think some of the people that I think the initial first few people that like went in and like riled everyone up were definitely something
so what
sketchy
happened? I
going
mean,
on
let's
there.
not go
but-
down the January 6th thing, but what happened with this whole Hamas thing? They did the exact same thing in the same place. They were taking stuff off the walls and they broke in.
In the-
And nobody said this just happened many weeks ago since
the
October
US
7th.
Capitol?
At the U.S. Capitol, there was a pro-Palestinian like protest in the Capitol, and they were like,
I'll be honest, this is the first I've heard
yes,
about it.
look it up. Nobody's saying a word. So I will say this: Vivek and Trump have my attention on the corruption.
Yeah.
Okay? But to me, this is like living with cancer. You are either going to defeat it, and if you're not, you know what? Make the most of the time that you've got. And if it's curable, I just don't see how. Like I've watched these Monsanto things where people, the lobbyists and the attorneys at these giant meat plants are saying we don't want to put that this meat is from cloned animals because it's going to put this. We're just going to make the public uncomfortable.
I wonder
We just
why.
want proper labeling of what the heck we're eating. Yeah. You guys are the problem. It's not these guys at the top.
That's
All
why you
the
need to go to fresh farm raised stuff like raw milk.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're welcome, by the way.
Are you going to bake a raspberry pie? No, not yet.
No, I don't think quite yet.
Okay. So I mean, that's where like when people are getting on Nikki Haley's problem with like Boeing, that's to me that's the problem. It doesn't matter about like 5 people that we're talking about here. There are hundreds of lobbyists who, the whole raw milk thing. You can go to jail for taking milk from an animal that people have been drinking for thousands of years with no problem, and now all of a sudden it's illegal.
It's legal now in Iowa.
No. It's unregulated. It is legal. It's unregulated.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I talked to them because I called and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he said, "Do you plan on selling raw milk in any fashion?" And I said, "Yeah, that's why I'm calling you." He said, "I have nothing to say to you." The head of the Dairy Bureau. He said, "I have nothing to say to you." And I go, "Okay." And he goes, "We've talked to our attorneys, and that this was under the jurisdiction of the FDA." And it was the law was written so broad by people like Kaufman, who I support, that it was broad. That was just
Bobby Kaufman?
yeah.
Okay.
Am I right?
Okay. I don't remember who was the writer of it.
Well, he just said that this guy, this bureaucrat at the Dairy Bureau, who's like out to make people safe, it did not want to give me the time of day because he goes, "It's not my jurisdiction. And it's not the FDA's jurisdiction. I have nothing to say to you." And he said, off the record, somebody's going to have to die for people to wake up. Okay? Because they don't believe in it. The dairy lobby does not want people buying milk from farms. Okay? Those lobbies are driving me nuts.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That there are people outside of government that are controlling our laws.
Yeah.
Because, you're going to affect my sales? No.
So there was a big issue this year, and the House took it up. The Senate refused to consider it about the pipeline coming through Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe recently the Utilities Board announced that it was canceled or something along those lines. But, the House passed a bill that would severely limit, their power, but the
CO2 pipeline?
that would severely limit the power of pretty much any utility.
What are they pumping CO2 for?
Energy is what they're claiming.
They're
okay.
using it's a public company using the government to force you to sell your property so they can come in and tear it up and put a pipeline through that. And that's not okay, right? Eminent domain is there for a reason for the government when the public good requires
Yeah, like
it.
a road.
Yeah, but like it is not there for a private company to put a bid out to the government and say, hey, here's $5 million, let's go do this. And then behind closed doors also go to the campaigns of all the people in charge of the government and say, hey, here's 100,000 for your campaign.
PS, do you know what the PSI on those pipelines are?
Couldn't tell you.
It's like 2,000 PSI.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's a welding tank. That's like an air compressor's 120. Tires on a semi are 120. 2,000 PSI. You can't get insurance to build a house on your property if that pipeline's too close.
Wow. Yeah, I know that Helena Hayes, representative in our area, has been a big, how do you say, the proponent of the carbon capture pipeline. And back to
Proponent of not having it or having
not having it. She's been talking. She has a coalition, I believe, that speaks out
Is
against.
Kim Reynolds for it?
Yeah, and then when it comes to Vivek, back to him, I keep nailing Vivek tonight. But the problem is, like, he had an event last Friday night where we talked about the carbon capture and how we shouldn't use eminent domain here in Iowa. But the problem is that the Navigator pipeline has already been canceled at that point, and so like. There's another thing when it goes back to that blanket statement. It's where it's like he's hitting these big points, but it's like to what prevail. I mean, I think that for me, it's a lot of words, less action. And I think that there was somebody there tonight, Ed Zigerman, great guy, great conversation with him. He mentioned that his issue with Vivek is that all these other candidates have done something. They have a proven track record. Like, what has he done for the American people at this point? And so I think that's definitely a great point of questionability. But yeah, sorry, I got off topic a little bit. Again.
Well, no, that is on topic because that's on here. He's got a pharma career. I mean, his billions are made off of the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, and back to that point, he mentioned that no individual who's had a say in the pharmaceutical lobbying should be able to run for Congress within 10 years of that period.
Doesn't that disqualify him?
The same point. I brought that up to an individual at the party tonight, and it's like these blanket statements. They have their attention grabbing, obviously, but they just lack that the true truth behind it. And I think it's just really shady. I think a lot of people they compared him to the 2008 Obama, kind of ran on these big talking points, and then
but aren't people just? This goes back to the Jews demanding a king. They had God as their king, and they didn't like judges. They wanted a king that they could manipulate. They wanted somebody that they could twist and do and give them what they wanted. Trump is somebody who is not. It's all. You're either with me or I'm your worst enemy. That is what's so scary. Like, all of these people on this list threw their hands in the air, except Chris Christie.
Yeah.
But Chris Christie was heralding him. And now, like, I do agree with Chris Christie's comments, not like him in general, but when he says, what about beyond Trump?
Yeah.
You said that earlier. We're like, we've only got 4 years. A lot of these big changes that are going to go on are going to go generationally beyond the next 4 years.
Yeah.
All we're excited about is, are we kicking into the sun? Or, like, do we get to the south side of the field in the second half? It's like, what about the rest of the season? What about the rest of your career?
And that's why we can't have a president who's just doing anything he wants by executive order. We need the support of Congress so that it's long-term policy change. If it's an executive order, day one, we saw it happen with Biden. They can undo
that
everything.
is going to happen if Trump's in there, and it is Trump. Did Trump somewhat start this? Did he not executive order a lot of stuff?
He
And then
did,
Biden's
yes.
like, you know what, fine, I'll do it, and I'm going to undo the Trump stuff. And now it's just it.
Yeah.
The which one?
The border is a great example of that. It's just a failed promise, essentially. Yeah, the border. Sorry, terrible with the mic situation, but the border is a great example of this. It's Trump. A lot of people talk about Trump said things, came through, and took actionable steps to make those things happen. But look at the border crisis. I mentioned this earlier. I keep going back to it, but it's like he said he was going to build the wall. He's going to make Mexico pay for it. We don't have a southern border. Mexico didn't pay for it. They're now allowing all these illegal immigrants coming into our country, and I think immigration is probably one of the biggest issues for a lot of folks around here because they're concerned, like their children's safety, their businesses, the tax dollars being spent on these illegal aliens, and so I think that's just one of the things where it's a failed promise based off the executive order that. Like Ryan said, he only get 4 years more of a Trump. And so what happens in 4 years when we get another Democrat and these executive orders are gone? It's the same scenario all over again. And so, like you said, we need a candidate with law.
Yeah.
I think that throwing the word Nazi out at anybody is very, like, a low blow.
I think it should be a very serious accusation. You don't have to
For
put your
him?
hand- I think no, calling someone a Nazi is a very serious accusation.
I will say that's why I was prefacing this.
Okay,
I don't
sorry.
think calling somebody a Nazi should be taken lightly.
Okay, yeah.
But and I'm not calling somebody a Nazi. But if you look at how people have come to power and their demands if they're not in power, those are the big red flags that are going on with Trump where it's why it's twofold for me. If this guy just ran off and retired at Mar-a-Lago on his golf course and cheated on every round, I don't care if he's a good or bad golfer. If he stayed out of politics, no one would be saying any of this stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that they are going at him is the Democrats are showing their hand.
Yeah.
Okay? But Trump, I think, is either he's showing his hand where he is proving the idolatry of himself from his base by saying, we don't care how sinful he is. We don't care how bad he is. Excuse me. I was just watching Jordan Peterson. Excuse me. Say something.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think there is a little bit of a political persecution happening here, and it's obviously a lot of the legal cases. There's some questionability to those, but obviously there is some legitimacy. But like you were saying, I think there is political persecution, and a lot of people say, well, if it wasn't Trump, it'd be a different candidate. But I don't
They're
think
picking on him.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be the same case. I think it's Trump specifically, just because he does come with a little bit of baggage, and like you said, his base, and you mentioned it earlier, just has become a cult. It's the intolerable conservative Trump party now at this point, and it sucks to see because the young Republicans obviously were a fresh face. We all have different ideals. I'm sure that each one of us had a different opinion of how tonight's debate went. We all have a different candidate, but the great thing about the young Republicans is that we have the opportunity to engage with one another and have these discussions without throwing out hateful comments and disallowing that narrative because we believe in one way or another. And so I think that that's something that one of these candidates really needs to engage and help develop, is that the opportunity to come together and have that thoughtful discussion. And that's why I really wish Trump would come to these debates, because I think that it would bring his base into that narrative. And so I definitely agree with what you were saying there.
So maybe to, I can go for hours.
Yeah.
So
All too familiar.
let's talk about what. Let's maybe put a bow on this.
Yeah.
Where are you guys looking for new recruits or members, or what? How do people get involved with what you guys are doing? I mean, is it at the end of the day just go and vote Republican? I mean, or is it like, are you guys looking for people to help?
Well, it's not just about voting. It's about holding our leaders accountable once they're in there. Organizations like ours are fortunate enough, between Logan and I, we probably know how many elected leaders at the state and national level.
Do you work up in Des Moines?
No, I have.
You did.
I have an office over in Ottumwa.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, between the two of us, and then the more young Republicans we have, the more we can network and build those relationships with legislators. We're doing caucus training in the next couple months leading up to the Iowa caucuses in 6 weeks. And, we have, I believe, legislators coming out to that, or
Yeah.
was that?
So, sorry, I'll talk more about this. Ryan specializes in membership. So, one of the big things that we want to do is social media, obviously big with young people. So you can find us on Southeast Iowa Young Republicans on Facebook. I think we just hit 650 followers. So big congrats there.
Yeah.
We just started our Instagram, SEYRs. Definitely come engage with us, follow us. We host events in all 13 counties here in southern Iowa. And like Ryan said, we're doing caucus trainings with the county Republican parties. We're trying to bridge that gap between the older Republican generation and the new folks. So we're going to help educate people on the caucus process. We're going to host events like the watch parties. We're going to do a fundraiser early next year. And then we're also going to have our legislators engage with us. We're very fortunate to have great legislators, Hans Wills, Jeff Shipley, Adrian Dickey, Helena Hayes. They've all been amazing to us. They're supporting the next generation of young Republicans. And so there's a multitude of ways for individuals to get involved. And so it's not just voting Republican. We don't want you to go into the ballot box and just vote straight ticket just because that's what you were told to do. We want you to come to these events, become educated, have the tough conversations, and really understand what it means to be a young Republican.
Because you and I have also spoken about there is a big difference between candidates running even in the Republican Party on
Absolutely,
their
and I think
stances
that's pretty clear with this presidential race.
Yeah, just things. Well, are there? So who are the? Can you guys give me some names and I'll post them on the screen here and we'll put links in the description. Who are like Republicans to kind of keep an eye out and maybe do some research on in the coming year?
That you would support?
That who's running?
For president or for
no, for like local
anything.
stuff. Yeah, like in the state of Iowa. Are you guys are you guys the Iowa chapter or the Henry County of Iowa
So
chapter?
we have the Iowa Federation of Young Republicans, which has currently 8 different chapters in the state of Iowa. So, like I said, the Southeast Iowa Young Republicans has.
So this is Southeast
Yep.
Iowa.
So we have 13 different counties. We go all the way over to Muscatine County and all the way over to Apponeers County. And so a couple young individuals to look out for. Mr. Coop, I'm assuming that he'll pursue office at some point in the future. Definitely look out for him. Matthew Rowe over in Fairfield, congratulations on his city council appointment. He's a young conservative with the Southeast YARs. And as far as individuals running this next year, as far as I know that I guess I'll let you touch a little bit more about that. I know you have more to say.
As far as individuals running next year, as far as local offices, it's a little early to tell who's going to be seeking election. I don't believe there's anyone who's formally challenging Representatives Taylor Collins or Jeff Shipley next year. I think both of them are pretty safe in their seats at the moment. Taylor Collins is actually the former chairman of our chapter, the Southeast Iowa Young Republicans.
I know that Marionette Miller Meeks, she's already had an opponent that's announced. Yep, he's an individual out of the Muscatine. I think his platform is that he's a veteran, which she's a veteran as well. So I needed some more platform points. But I know that it's going to be a contested race. Just in Fairfield alone, I grew up in Fairfield, and so I know this.
I'm sorry.
I love small town Iowa. I think that there's no place like it. I would never want to be raised anywhere else. But as
Want to maybe see the name of Miller Meeks' opponent yet? Or
I to be honest, I don't know it. I just know of him. Jacob Hall at the Iowa Standard does a good job of sharing those updates. But just in Fairfield alone, with city council races, I think there was 2 vacancies, and we had 6 different candidates. The Fairfield School Board had 8 candidates for 2 spots, and we're seeing a lot of folks that say, "Hey, there's a lot of problems in this country. I want to get involved. I'm gonna put my name on the ballot." And so it's great to see, but I definitely guarantee that we'll see some political challengers in the future.
do you know?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
So do you guys have any websites? So you got your Instagram, you got your Facebook. Do you guys
So,
have like a website?
The state has a website that links to all of our chapters. It's just iowayr.com. Our Instagram is SEIYR. And then Facebook is just Southeast Iowa Young Republicans. But Logan does a pretty good job at staying active on our social media, posting about new events and stuff that's in the works, and whenever we have candidates coming out to talk. So just go ahead and follow those if you can and stay up to date.
Cool.
Make it a requirement.
Yeah.
Do you guys got anything else?
No, I just want to say thank you for having us on this podcast. We're going to be happy to share this. I think this is a really great opportunity for us as young Republicans, and I thank you for giving us the opportunity to kind of share our voice and be heard. And I definitely enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that about Logan summed it up pretty good. Just, make sure that you guys get out to the January 15th caucuses here, if you're in Iowa, that is. And
Give me like caucusing in 30 seconds.
so caucusing is a meeting between your party to kind of figure out who you're going to be supporting for the general election.
Presidential?
Yeah,
Or even
and
local
even
elections?
local,
Okay.
yes. And not only that, but it's kind of a chance at caucuses, you select delegates that go on to like the central committee, and then they select delegates to go to the state and all that fun stuff to kind of determine the party platform over
Does
the next
this
few
happen
years.
in a county, city, or where?
Precinct
where do you
level,
go?
actually. So Henry County, I believe, is split up into 4 or 5 where we caucus. Last year when I went in 2022, there was 4 people for my precinct that showed up. One was me, one was my mom, and then 2
Do
were
you have to
our
be
neighbors.
18?
You do.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. If you're 18 by election day, I believe you can,
Yeah,
but you
so-
do have to be a registered voter.
Yeah, and I'll touch on this a little bit too as well. So like every county is different the way that they handle their caucus process. So for example, Wapello County, I attended their training last night. They have their whole county meets at the Ottumwa High School, and they have the classrooms divided up into precincts. So it's an opportunity for not only the county party to conduct business, so they elect central committee members, and then it's also an opportunity for you to be able to share your voice and make it heard. Obviously, this year the election will take place secret ballot. And so you'll go and you can do same day registration. So all you Democrats out there that want to vote Republican this year, you can do same day registration. But you go up, you attend, you sign in, you get to know the folks in your county party, and then you guys will have the opportunity to speak in favor of your candidate. Normally they give you about a minute or 2, and then you'll vote by secret ballot, and the results should be posted live within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Big thank you to the Iowa GOP for making that process pretty tech friendly and making it more efficient. So that's kind of a caucus breakdown.
Nice. I'm
What
excited.
you said.
So the caucusing is January 15th,
That is correct.
7
And
p.m.
7 p.m.
and it's statewide on that day.
Yeah, you can always email your local county auditor to find out the exact location because it varies by county where you'll meet. But typically, all the precincts do it in the same area. I know last year in Henry County, we did it out by the Methodist Church, kind of in the middle of Mount Pleasant.
So what do you guys want to talk about on the next podcast?
Hopefully Ryan will be announcing his run for president.
Now, I want you to know that we have an agreement, I hope. I said,
Oh, yeah.
when you are president of the United States or whatever high political office, that I'm going to vote for him as long as, when he is famous politically, that he answers my phone call to prove that I have access to him as his high elected official. So
Let's see how many missed calls I have from you today. Oh, just
hey,
one. Okay.
We're going to wrap this up. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Go buy a Bible if you don't have one and start reading it, okay? So I really appreciate you guys coming. I appreciate that you guys are doing this at your age. And there is something in Proverbs. I should have found it, but it says something about doing the wise thing on the right and don't do the foolish thing on the left. So it's even in there.
We're the
but-
right party, not the wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, thank you very much. See ya.